Patterson for those watching later or joining us late today, or here for the first time. And I have such a love of reading. And so I thought, you know what a way to create community and connection. And I know connection is something that our guest today, our guest author, Shannon Talbot, loves. I mean, basically, when you read her bio and her description, it talks about her being a human connection expert. And so we all have so many outdated habits and, the workplace culture we're trying to change. We're trying to bring in new ways and approaches. And so I love that you are a speaker, an author, you facilitate, leadership groups. And I love the story about you being a prison mentor, which I'll let you share that later. And but just really what resonated about your book and breaking free, stop holding back, start being you. The healthy living, like living a healthy, happier, fulfilled life, is really what we are ideally all trying to do. So, yeah, so I just love your story. And I love that I got to meet Shannon in person in last year at this time at a called Do Bullshit, which is Rob Gilbert. If you don't follow Rob on LinkedIn and Instagram, he's just an amazing leadership and business coach as well. And so we were sitting at the same table and thinking about our visions for the next year and what was coming. So there's so much to unravel in the book. So I'm going to start with a couple questions, and then I always open it up to those who have come. And even if they haven't read it, they're going to hear a lot and they always go buy it after. So there we go. But so welcome again. And I thought we would just start, Shannon, having read the book and getting to know you. There's something in us, these dreams that are sometimes unfulfilled. And your love for writing and came out later. And I thought, like, what brought you to this journey of writing the book itself and a bit about the process? Because some people have that come or will watch this later want to write books as well. And so we start with just that, your process and what got you to there. And then we're going to dive into some of the concepts in the book as well.
Sure. And thanks so much for having me, Helen. So lovely to meet all of you watching now or later. And thanks for being here. Um, so I started writing, I think it was grade five. You know how memories get fuzzy of when you're a kid? I think I started writing in grade five, and I started writing a book. At the time, I was obsessed with the Babysitter's Club books. And I think I was writing a book like that. I remember the lead character's name was Tiffany. That's about all I remember. But I remember thinking, I'm going to write this book. I remember talking to my dad about it, who was not a writer, but I remember talking to him. And then I don't know, it never came to or anything. And then it wasn't until, but I always had this like secret dream where I was like, oh, it'd be really great to be a writer. And then I don't remember what else happened with writing then, but in grade 11, in my English class, um, we had to write essays for our exams. Again, couldn't tell you what it was about, what I wrote about, but my teacher called home, and that was the first time I'd ever gotten a call home. And my mom's like, Mr. Smallwood's on the phone for you. I'm like, oh no, right? Like, when does a teacher ever call when it's, not something bad? So I got on the phone and he goes, Shannon, I had to call you and let you know, like, the essay you wrote was phenomenal. And he goes, you write well under pressure. He goes, you write better when you're under pressure than when you have like, I don't know, however long we'd have for assignments, a month maybe or whatever. And then he said, have you considered going on to like university or college for writing? And I was like, oh, that sounds great, but no, that's not practical. Like, no, I need to go get a career that's practical, that pays a steady paycheck. My mom's a teacher, my dad's a lawyer. Writing is not a career. So I thanked him. I was very like nice about it. I was like, thank you, but no, I'm going to school for business. So I went to school for business, all this stuff. And then again, it was kind of probably always part of my job I would have enjoyed if I had to write a presentation or give a talk or things like that. It would have been there. But it wasn't until my husband and I started to try and have kids, and we could not have children. And we went through fertility treatments, and then we moved on and started researching adoption and went through big ups and downs with adoption. We ended up adopting both of our sons as newborns, but that was became my outlet. And I started a blog, What to Expect When You're Not Expecting. And I think it's somewhere out there still, but I started this blog before I even really knew what a blog was or how to do it. I think it was WordPress. I don't even know. And I would just write. And it was probably the first time, too, I showed up really vulnerable. And even for the adoption of our second child, there's a 30-day waiting period in Ontario where the birth parents can change their minds. And it was touch and go for 30 days. And I would write. I'd met him, I'd held him, and then he might not have come home with me. So I wrote him a letter and posted it. And it was just like that thing that became how I could express myself. And then after that, I was still working in corporate at the time. I was like, you know what? Maybe I can start writing articles. So I pitched Today's Parent and wrote, they accepted me, paid me $300 for an article, which is not much, but to me it was gold. It was everything. It was like, oh my gosh, I've hit the jackpot. And then I started doing more of that. And then what led me to writing this book, because again, I had this thing like one day I'll write a book when I have a story to share. One day when my business is successful, or one day when I've, done these things and I can share. So I kept putting it off thinking, like, who wants to listen to me or what do I have to share? And after one of the workshops that I'd hosted a couple years ago, a friend of mine who attended called me up and she's like, okay, when are you writing your book? I was like, well, no, I'm not ready. I don't have the stuff. I haven't been successful. Da, da. She was like, like, just go. Like, you don't need to wait for that perfect moment, perfect time, all that. So that's kind of, it was her pushing me that led me to then write my book.
Oh, I love that. And thank you for doing that. I'm sure that some of that three P's was coming up for you too, that we can talk about a
Yes.
little later. But
Yes.
yeah, I mean, I just, first of all, thank you for sharing that and your vulnerability in sharing that, because I think that is, the more we can open up our own stories, the more others feel like they can open up theirs. And there was quite a bit I could resonate with that, that I didn't share a lot. I had some, yeah, fertility issues and challenges myself. And then we did go on the adoption route. And so we did have two birth mothers who decided
Mm,
to keep the babies, which I'm very happy, they made that choice, the mothers, like such a tough thing, but you're still devastated, right? And so, yeah, I mean, and just so many stories. And I think, gosh, I should be writing about all of those things. Like, I haven't really even opened up that part of me. So when I get my boring business book out there, sorry, I might have to get Stephen to edit that part out. When I get my wonderful business book out there on creative mentor culture, I think some of that other writing, because I do it in my journal a lot, but I don't
mm,
necessarily publish here and there on LinkedIn, or I had a blog too, which was, oh gosh, I think it was even in Google. You know how Google had that blogger or something like that? I
right.
don't even know if
Yeah.
it's there. But I think it's just important, and I think so much of our creativity in society is really suppressed, right?
Mhm.
Because we are from a very young age taught to be these professions, right? Teachers, lawyers, doctors, whatever our influence is, right? So, and even with my kids going to school, a lot of this creativity of like musical instruments or writing, it's just like that's not, even though we have reading, writing, and whatever else, but so it's sort of great. And I think that I just love also your story about being in corporate, because this is a theme that has come up a bit. And, does it just take every human being in the world to burn out before they realize, this corporate, these systems we have? And so again, I see a lot of coaches, I see a lot of consultants and, women starting businesses and entrepreneurs, which a few people here are. And part of my journey leaving corporate too. So if you haven't finished it, go and buy it and finish it. The exercises in it are
Mhm.
fantastic. So thank you. So the one question I did think it was, I mean, there's fear, there's a few things, but I thought if you could just spend a little bit time on the three P's, because I
Mhm.
believe the majority of women in the world, have had these, perfectionism, people pleasing, and perception,
Mhm.
um, barriers or whatever we want to call them, habits, personality traits. There's so many names we could give it. So just a little bit about that,
Mhm.
and how you came up with that, and just what you've seen in your career with the coaching that you're doing.
So I was trying to think of what commonalities we all face, in our careers and lives, and it's both sides. And so when I started my business in 2021, I left corporate. I worked in banking for 15 years, worked for an advertising agency for 2 years, then start burnt out multiple times, and started my coaching and speaking company in 2021. And I first started working with women who were looking for more work-life balance in their lives, or stress management, burnout, those types of things. And it's really interesting because we tend to put up these things, and it's, these masks almost, and we start to believe that we're not doing something because of it. Oh, it's not good enough yet, or oh, I need to tweak that email 30 more times before I can hit send, or I can't ask for that promotion or go after that client until I've had this much experience. And we all say it, right? We all have, I think the average, we make 2,100 excuses a year, which I actually think slow. I think we probably make way more than that. I think that works out to be like 6 times a day. I'm like, no, I probably could do 6 times just in the morning when I'm trying not to exercise. So, or when I'm doing, when I'm on my way to the gym and thinking of all the reasons why I should turn around and go home. But what I found out when I would dig down a bit with my clients and then also look inwards at myself, I came up with these. I call them now the three dirty P's. So when I just called them the three P's in my book, I've since renamed them to the three dirty P's. And it is perfectionism, it is people pleasing, and perception. So caring too much about what other people think. And the funny thing is, the first one I thought I would tackle is when I think I actually worked at Scotiabank at the time. So that's going back almost 10 years now. And I was like, okay, I have to start caring less what people think. And the ironic thing was, I put a note on my phone and I put kilowatt. So it was like CLWOT, or I might be missing a letter, but it was like, it stood for care less what others think. But I couldn't write it out in my phone because I didn't want anyone to see it. So I'm like, even though I was trying not to, I still was not acting in a way that cared less. But I think too, like they either come from, for me, a lot of this stuff comes from childhood, although, I had two loving, kind, supportive parents. I grew up in a small town of 8,000 people where perception means a lot, where, my dad's a lawyer, my mom's a teacher. We went to church every Sunday and you had to keep up appearances and you had to pretend everything was okay and keep, stuff private. And so I grew up with that. And then I found when, as I went through corporate too, it's you had to be careful about how you position things. Like if something wasn't going to work out or your project was delayed, okay, well, how can you spin that so it doesn't sound so bad? And, there were all these things that we were taught to do to hide a little bit of the truth. And so that to me was like, okay, no, we need to stop doing that so much and start showing up more as ourselves. And then in doing so, hopefully we can encourage others around us to do that.
I think that's amazing. And that's a really hard place to get to, having been trying this for years. And I love what I love now is that future generations are starting to have the resources and supports that I didn't necessarily have growing up, which is why I am very passionate about mentoring. And I joke about the book of, but it's just having mentors, coaches, sponsors, people in your corner that you can go to kind of help you, have the mirror navigate. If I think about counseling, even mentors, coaches, like it wasn't available a lot, or, unless you had it in your family or some friends. And then even when I worked, in law firms 30 years ago, some of the programs, it was like on paper, but it wasn't really happening, right? So you have to seek it out. And so that is wonderful. I love all the exercises. There was one I wanted to ask you about, and I do want to open it up for questions after, but we have another 40 minutes or so. But one of the exercises was writing your eulogy. And I did that with a coach. I did that with a coach who also is a transformative life coach. And she takes people on travel trips there's also a component of giving back. And so we did this exercise, and I thought, this is so bizarre. This was in 2022, at the end of 2022. And it was kind of interesting to do it. And then when I came back from my trip, my mom passed a few weeks later, and I had to write hers. And it's just like, oh my gosh, how, to write it yourself and to think about all these things, and then just this finite piece, right? This is the piece. Like, we are all going to experience that. So how do we want to live while we're here? But what made you like, did you do that yourself with someone? Like, what made you decide to have that as a task,
Yeah,
or
great
something?
question. So I went to an event years ago, and there was a guest speaker there who I think she was an American woman, but just really great speaker. And in her talk, she showed a tombstone, and on it said busy.
Ooh.
And she said if anyone had ever asked anyone about her, at the time she worked in corporate, working mom, she had kids. She goes, if anyone had ever asked, how is so and so? They would have said busy. If anyone asked her, how's it go? How are you? I'm busy. That was her go-to. She was always busy. She didn't have time for anything. And she was always stressed and on the move. And it took her realizing, I don't know, it must have been somebody played back to her or something. I don't remember that exact moment, but that realizing, oh my gosh, if I died tomorrow, people are just going to think, oh, she was a really busy person who prioritized her career, and that's not how she wanted to be remembered. So at first, I actually started out with write your obituary. What do you want it to say in the newspapers? But then I started reading obituaries, and no offense, but they're boring. Like, there's not much there. Like, there's a little bit, and you get to see, all the relatives they left behind, and that part's lovely. But I was like, no, that's not enough to get us to really start thinking about how we want to live our lives. I'm like, no, we have to write our eulogy. So that's where it came from, was just thinking, what's something we can do that will really get us to start living more or chasing those goals or dreams. And then the side piece that really kind of, oh my gosh, I just about said put a nail in the coffin, which is horrible, right? Saying that, but kind of ironic, was, and it's something really small, although this is something else we women do, is we downplay things. So it's something super small, but when I turned 40, I had to start getting mammograms because my mom has had breast cancer twice. So I went for my first mammogram, and I got a call back. And I think it was over Christmas holidays, so I had to wait till January. But I got that call, and my family is a worst case scenario family. So it's like you get a call and it's the worst case that's happening. So I've worked really hard to not be that. But when I did get that call, I was like, oh no, what if I do have breast cancer and I do have to take a leave from work or this or that? And so that's too where I was like, I haven't done all the things I want to do yet. And that also started to get me thinking about, okay, what are those things I want to do? And then how would I want to be remembered?
Yeah, wow. Well, you are on your way already. So congratulations to
Thank
you. And
you.
I think that other piece about celebrating where we are and what we like, to have that accomplishment list or something. I did that as well when I turned 60. I'm putting it out there. That's how old I am. I'm over
I
that.
wouldn't have guessed that, Helen. I did not think that. No.
So that's why it's like, oh my gosh, I only have 25 more years or 30. I'm like, well, I gotta go. No, it's like, man. Then
Helen,
I wrote this list of
Helen,
all
I
the
think you are
things.
lying.
I'm
Seriously,
reverse.
I think
I'm
you are
aging in
lying.
reverse. I'm aging
Yeah.
in reverse. It was on my vision board, so it's gonna come true. But anyway, um, but I had this. I decided I had started it when I was 50, I think, and it was like a list of things. And I can't remember. It was like Jack Canfield or one of these guys that, this exercise thing and like the accomplishments. And, they said just even whatever, being born, learning to walk. So I just started with that. And then I started thinking about all these things. And I thought, man, why? Because the way I lived, or we often lived, is okay, we're done. What's next? And you write about that. There's all these things. So there was a lot. And again, I still have lots of time, but I also have been learning, and thank you to Emmeline, who is part of our team and who is just full of wisdom beyond her age and learning to live more in the now and surrendering, which is really hard, and letting it go. Because I think, like me finishing my book, and I put it out there, which was a suggestion you made as well in the book. It's like you have to, because you're, it could just continue behind the scenes forever. So whether it comes on the exact date or it's fine, right? But it's I think you still want to think about these exciting things, or these um, just something that you don't want to leave behind, right? There is something. Now, it could just be spending that time in dinners with the kids, or having a trip, or just walking them to school. It doesn't have to be these big things
Hmm.
either. So yeah, so one more question, then I'll open it up about starting at the vision. You talk about this at the beginning, and I love, again, I will go through and do these exercises. I've done similar ones, but it's always good to kind of come back to them. And where am I now in my life, as to, this year I traveled a lot, was on my vision board, and it's just amazing, but it keeps me away from other things. And it's like, okay, well, just, the vision can change too. Some people are very clear. But it took you a while to get to yours. So yeah, so just tell us a little bit about an exercise. Maybe even people want to take a few minutes now to kind of walk through that and
Yeah.
think about this vision exercise. And I'm going to go let my dog in because she's scratching on the door. I'll be right back, but
Okay.
you can start. I can hear you.
Sure. So yeah, so this was an exercise that I did and then do in the book, and then I do it with all my coaching clients, and I'm actually doing it at a workshop I'm leading for a group of women next month as well. And so in the book, I talk about picturing 10 years from now. And that's how I started. So in 2019, I was like, okay, by 2030, what do I want? Now, for some people, because the group I'm speaking to next month, there could be an 80-year-old in the room. So they're like, 10 years might not be the right amount. So I just say, use whatever number of years makes sense for you. But the benefit of picking something that isn't next year or the year after is when we do that, our brains immediately go to, well, that's not possible. Or like, how would that even happen? So we want to give ourselves enough space where it's like, who knows? Like, think about, oh my gosh, like, think of what we've gone through in the last 5 years that we would never have imagined, good and bad, right? COVID and other stuff. We can't predict it. So a lot can happen in even just, 5 years. So picturing, 5 years from now. And then what I like to do, and we can do this now if everyone wants, we can close our eyes and then take a few nice deep breaths just to kind of clear our heads and any stress we've had this morning. So nice if you breathe in through your nose. Hold at the top for just a few seconds, and then you can breathe slowly out through your mouth. You can do that a couple more times just to get a little bit more present. As you're doing it, you can also just notice if you're holding any body part tight or clenching or anything. Just try and release any tension, especially in our shoulders and neck and hands and forehead potentially. And then I want you to picture whether it's 5 years, I'm going to use 5 years for now. Picture one day, 5 years from now, there are no rules. You could live, in a desert beside an ocean, if that makes sense for you. Don't worry about whether it makes sense. But I just want you to picture your ideal day. And you're going to start by picturing waking up in the morning, looking around. Where are you? Are you where, your current home? Are you on a vacation? Are you in a new city? Just wherever you want to be, picture that. Again, there's no rules. We don't let our naysayer brain come in. And then I want you to picture your morning. What does your morning routine look like? Are you with people? Are you by yourself? Do you have pets, kids, friends, family? You can even picture what you're wearing, what you eat for breakfast if you're doing exercise or walking or meditation or reading or whatever it is. And then I want you to just picture your morning. And you don't have to worry about if it's a certain job or a certain company or if you're a volunteer for a certain organization or any of that. You don't have to figure out the details. But what I'd love for you to do is just look at the tasks, those things that make up your morning, and what would be ideal. Is it writing? Is it having a business and meeting with clients? Is it working in a dream job? Is it volunteering your time at a shelter or something like that? Is it art, like art? Are you an artist? And just picture your ideal morning. If you have breaks, if you go outside during it, if you commute for it, and how do you commute? And then picture your lunch break. What does lunch look like? I'm picturing a big fruit tray for what's coming up for me and healthy but delicious choices, coffee, whatever interests you. And then look at your afternoon. Does it mean taking a nap after lunch? Does it mean getting together with a friend or more work or volunteering or hobbies? Maybe music related. And let whatever come up, come up. And then I want you to picture after work. What does that look like? Do you meet up with friends, family, have alone time, go somewhere, do a hobby? Same thing with dinner. Picture your dinner. And if your dinner is eating dinner in front of the TV with a glass of wine, that's okay. It's whatever you want it to be. There are no right or wrong things here at all. And then your evening, how do you spend your evening? What time do you go to bed? And the last thing I want you to think about is when you look back, so say you're 5 years from now, you just had your ideal day. What are you thinking about when you go to bed or when you look at yourself in the mirror, or brushing your teeth or putting on your pajamas? What was great about today? What are you proud of yourself for? What are you grateful for? And just take a moment, soak it all up. Whatever else comes up, welcome it. And then when you're ready, you can come back and open your eyes. Now, I know that was a little bit rushed, but it's something you can do on your own before bed, when you wake up in the morning. If you get my book, I do walk you through the exercise as well. And then I just encourage people to write down what comes up for them. And sometimes it's the funniest thing that has come up is a lot of my clients are like, I pictured myself in silk pajamas. Maybe I need to go buy a pair of silk pajamas. And it's like, do what will make you feel good. Some people have a hard time doing that exercise or like, I couldn't really think of something. That's normal as well. So it's really just, seeing what does come up. If nothing comes up, trying it again a different way or another time. But the biggest thing is giving yourself permission to be able to think about that ideal day and that it is possible, those things you thought about.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think it's so important for us to take that time to actually feel into that and allow ourselves to let go a little bit and see what comes up as well as you sit, if you start your day with meditation or And then not worrying about how you get there. You did write about that in your book as well, that, you had these big, bold, audacious goals and visions that you had, and just thought, yeah, you didn't you kind of let go of worrying about that day to day and how and things evolve and somehow it just it
Yeah.
happened.
Can I share that really quick story, Helen?
Oh
So just to
yeah,
share with
please.
all of you. So I started this in 2019. And then from there, I wrote out 10 things that I wanted to come true by 2030. That exercise is also in the book. But the one line, so in 2019, I was working for a bank. I'd only ever been in business, only ever worked for banks. And I wrote down that I was a successful entrepreneur who helped professionals live happier, healthier, and more fulfilling lives. I was like, I know nothing about entrepreneurship. My whole background is business. I have no idea how I could ever do this, but I wrote it down and I wrote it down every day. And I gave myself until 2030. Okay, so that was the start of 2019. I quit my corporate job and started my business in May of 2021. So just about 2.5 years for it to come true. And again, and it was things like I got my coaching certifications, which I never would have thought of in 2019, which had never really been something that I'd ever thought I would do. But by just kind of putting the idea out there, I was open to seeing things that I may have not seen otherwise. So that's a big example of, changing careers. It doesn't have to be that big. It can be a lot smaller than that. But just the idea of writing it down can really help us get our minds, on that and then see things that otherwise we don't see.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much goodness in this book. So, yeah, definitely one I will pick up again. And I have lots of earmarked pages, but I did want to give time to others who may have a few questions for you.
Mhm.
And I think if you um, ever do a workshop on that. I mean, I've thought about it myself. Like, I just love that. We did at HRPA vision board exercises.
Mhm.
I met Lovell through the HR
Mhm.
Professional Association, and we did it as part of the mentor program, which was kind of interesting. But it was so well received, and just a different way to kind of bring people together and connect and get your, ideas on paper. I like the Bristol board too, or
Yeah.
but now people don't have as much paper magazines, but you can print off. So, oh, Corinne, she loved the book.
Oh,
I read it in
wow. Thanks,
2 days.
Corinne.
Oh my gosh. Did you have a question
Wow.
you'd like to ask, Corinne? I'm so glad you made it. And I know that, we've been on this Dream and Discover discussion, and it's perfect timing for you, I think, book.
I really, really enjoyed the book. It was like a page turner for me. Everything about it, I mean, even the parts where you talked about your son in the hospital with his appendix, that happened with my son too. And I was in hospital with him for about 3 weeks in Calgary.
Wow.
hmm
Wow.
So, and having worked in the banking industry and all that, but what kind of advice, I guess my question would be, I chose to leave my corporate world and to be a stay-at-home mom. And in the meantime, we moved back from Calgary to Ottawa, and there was COVID in the mix. So trying to get back to work during that time. And you're talking about excuses like I had to get carpal tunnel surgery on both.
Oh, no.
So now I've got everything sort of straightened out, and my kids are older. But what kind of advice do you give for someone who's been out of work for many years? I've done a lot of volunteer work to fill my time. Um, but as far as picturing yourself in your next steps, like what kind of advice do you have?
Yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations. It sounds like you've done a lot of important moves and decisions and things
Mhm.
for you and your family. So that's
Thank
wonderful.
you.
And thank you for the kind comments about my book. That's so lovely.
Hmm.
Um, so what I'd suggest, and it's for really any, whether you've been out of work or not out of work, but you're thinking of
Hmm.
changing jobs or anything, it's just going out and chatting with, whether going out in person or, a Zoom call or whatever, just chatting with people. If you
Hmm.
know what you want to do, trying to find people out there in that industry, and just the number of people, even this morning, like I just message people. I'm like, hey, could I pick your brain for 10 minutes on this? Or, you're
Hmm.
not asking for like a job necessarily, but it's just like, hey, I'm considering moving into your industry. Do you have 10 minutes to chat with me about what
Hmm.
it is, or what I might need, or whatever that is? And if you don't know, so that was my situation in 2019. I knew I
Hmm.
didn't want to be in banking anymore, but I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
And so, but then it was funny because the first couple of people I talked to, they're like, well, come back to me when you know what you want to do, which is not helpful.
Hmm.
So I just started with, that's kind of when I started being like, I'm just going to show up more authentically. And if people don't like it, then they're not meant to talk, then I'm not meant to talk to them.
Hmm.
So I would just start reaching out to people and I would say, I'm going to be completely honest. I have no idea what I want to do next. So I'm looking to just talk to people, hear more about their background, their experiences, and see if that, might be of interest or things like that. And then that was really incredible once I started doing that and talking to the right people. And that's how I landed my job in advertising, which I never would have picked that I would ever work for an advertising agency. But it was like people connected me to other people who connected me. I got on the phone with a recruiter and he's like, I have a job for you.
Hmm.
And so you just never know. And so again, it comes back to, I know Helen talks a lot about human connection, the human connection, the networking, just reaching out, asking for help, which I know can also be
Hmm.
hard sometimes, but just doing it and getting clear on what you want to do. And then when you do know what you want to do, then you can start sharing that and see, what doors open and who's willing to help you. Because I find for the most part, people just genuinely want to help other people succeed.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank
Does
you.
that help,
Yeah.
Corinne?
That's-
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think that the other thing, um, when we assume that in corporate or getting back into a role that you had to have this work experience, but you have so much experience, all of the work you've done, and it just, talking about making that list of your accomplishments and your skill sets. I mean, you ran a business. You had your own very successful cake pop business.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and just all the work you've been doing in your volunteer capacity, learning about the legal system. Like there's so much. And I love that Shannon, in your book, you do touch on this because again, it kind of comes back to, is this a gender issue? Is this a woman issue? The confidence and you everybody, you write about that stat too, about men will just apply for a job even if they have like 60, 80% of the skills, and women wait till they have 100 or 110 or something.
Yeah.
It's but yeah, so there's just I just love again the exercises, and I saw that Angela joined, and her book we did last month, squiggly line career, and so a lot of these concepts. Um, Now I have want to open it up again if anybody else would like to just ask any. It doesn't have to be about the book itself. It can just be about advice or other things that have come up in our discussion so far. If anybody would, oh, Lovell, looks like you've unmuted. So
Yes, I have. First of all, thank you so much, Helen. It's so great you opened up this space for um, women to come and talk about, and I've been to a lot of your book circles, and I really love it. So thank you, and thank you, Shannon, for sharing your wisdom. I will be honest. Unfortunately, I have not read the book, but for sure, you know what is happening next. Um, I love the idea when you said whatever you had a goal, that you wrote it down every day. So just curious to know, you had a book like a journal or just a notebook, and every day you would just write
Yeah.
that one thought
Do you see my
repeatedly.
filing
This
cabinet there? That is full of journals. I have been writing in a journal since I was a kid. My kid ones aren't here. I wish they were. That'd be fun. um, to read and probably mortifying, but because I was boy crazy. But yeah, I write down every day. So sometimes it's a physical notebook, sometimes it's in my phone, depending on if I'm traveling or wherever I am. And now what I do, and I have this exercise in the book too. I have 10 things I write down. They've shifted a bit since I started it in 2019 because some things have changed. So which is fine. You can shift your goals. So I write 10 things down every day, and they tend to span all areas. So my health, my husband, my kids, my friends, family, my career, hobbies, travel. Also, I talk about my home, like what I want my home to be, um, things like that. And I write them down in the present tense. So that's the
Mm.
key. So it's not like I will, but I write like by 2030, and then I write below, like I have, I don't know, run a marathon, whatever that may be for you.
Oh, okay.
That is not on my list, but just as an example. And so I write it down, and then the key, and this I borrowed from Rachel Hollis. This is not mine, but Rachel Hollis, who writes a lot of books, she was like, write down really strong descriptors. And it's
Sorry.
like, sorry, just like strong adjectives. So
Mm.
like don't use like great, or like try to use a word that's really will get some feeling out of you. So like I think I have like my husband and I have a fantastic marriage where we ensure we spend, time together, go out on date nights, like a couple, like I explain it a little bit more. I talk about the relationship I want with my kids. So I talk about like my kids are open and honest and come to me and we share and we have fun and blah blah. And then with my work, I actually have a revenue goal in there. So I'm pretty specific on that. So it all depends on what you want to do and how you want to frame it. But the two key factors are write in the present tense and write words that are going to make you feel like excited about it or hopeful about it, versus it just being kind of a boring statement.
Thank you. So kind of it, whatever you write, it then you're putting it out there in the universe and it manifests.
Yeah. And then I write it the same things every day. So also don't write really long sentences because it's can take a lot of work to write out. So I then write those out every day. Maybe not
Oh,
weekends,
every.
but I write them during the week. It's part of my morning routine.
Wow, excellent. Thank you so much. I think I'm definitely going to follow that. And Helen has always been talking about, she has been a great mentor for me and now a great friend as well. And Helen, you've always talked about manifesting. So thinking about what you want it to happen and manifest that. So thank
And I
you.
think,
Thank you
sorry,
both.
Level, if I just add one last thing, because I did get in trouble from my therapist on my list, a different therapist than I have now, but I had a therapist at one point, and she was like, well, I made it almost too good. So, like, for example, my one sentence I used to have about my husband and I think I wrote, like, we have an exceptional marriage. And she's like, it's not always going to be exceptional. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have things and da da da. So it's also keeping that in mind that like that's not always going to be there. So maybe also having a bit of reality into it so that I tweaked that one a little bit to ensure there's some room for ups and downs. So I'm not like putting it up on a pedestal thinking it's going to be perfect all the time.
Isn't
Yes,
that?
it's being a little realistic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Otherwise, we're back
not.
to one of the three P's of perfectionism. And we're
totally.
can't be
You
like
got it,
that.
Helen.
We live in the chaos and we got to embrace that too, right? It's like, oh, it's so
Mhm.
fun.
Uh,
I love it. And it's just reminding me more and more about the beauty. Like even I have an exercise, I've just been writing again my 10 year. And I love the idea of just thinking about what does the date look like and how I start, how I feel and then and even recently my husband and I have been having these discussions. He's like, I'm gonna have to be careful. I got to pick a goal because I think I'm gonna be bored. And I'm like, you just need to chill. Like, you haven't chilled your entire life since I've known you, but And so now I wonder where that comes from if it rubs off on me. And I've been that way. So now I'm in this different stage in life. So the next 10 years, it isn't the same as what it would have been when I was 30 or 40, right?
Mhm.
It is just a different peaceful feeling and opening up, but and a few little projects in there, of course, because I am the type that would probably be, what's next? So for me to slow down has been really interesting from that perspective, because I always find, Shannon, even just reading these books, I've read a lot of self-help and I've read a lot of books, and I just think it's beautiful because I feel like there's a sometimes contradiction of we have to get out of our comfort zone. And you write about that and the change, yet we should feel fine where we are. And it's just like this, it's like this back and forth of what I feel about that. But it's about my journey is different than yours anyway. So an experience that I think is beautiful, someone would be maybe bored or think, wow, that's like, why bother? I've done the marathons. Like my bones won't do that anymore.
Yeah. And also, I just want to go back to what Corinne, something you said too, because I do write about the excuses we make, the BS, that stuff. But at the same time, it's also recognizing when we actually do have things that are going to keep us from doing what we want to do, like a sick child or other family commitments, and knowing those aren't excuses. They are just like reality in that moment, and that is okay. And then knowing that that's the priority, right? Because also I know I do this, like beat myself up. Even now, right now, my kids take up a lot of my time, which is partly why I left corporate. But then I get guilty of not working longer hours and all this stuff, right? So it's like knowing, trying to find that right, whatever that right balance is for you, and knowing, okay, this is just how it is right now, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's
Sorry,
nice to know
Helen, I have an appointment, so I do have to go. But again, so nice to be here, and thank you so much, Shannon and Helen both.
Okay, thank
Um,
you. We'll see you again
Bye.
soon. Yeah. Oh, it's just so, I mean, it's the thing is opening up the dialogue and writing the book, Shannon, and sharing it with other people to know that at some stage in our lives, we all are going to go through some of this. And the talking negative to ourselves, like all of the things that you share in here and resources that you provide and exercises, and it's a way of trying not to stay stuck in a way, because to me I think our whole purpose is evolution in a way, right? Where are we from there's different perspectives, there's spirituality, there's all kinds, but that is the growth and evolving and being able to recognize these things, which again, because I only started counseling way too late in my life, but I have to get rid of that too late stuff. That's probably one of my biggest, excuses and fears and all of that. And it's like, it's not, right? It's not till that very last chapter, as you write about, until we're really, really gone. So I think that it's just lovely to see your energy and what you provided in here. And I can see that vision you have of being a motivational speaker, and just it's really sharing your love for supporting others and sharing your stories too, and that people aren't alone, right? That's what we need, more Shannons in the world. So thank you for that. I do, anyone else, can we take a quick picture before anybody else hops off, just in case if anybody has a book they can hold it up. um yeah, some people probably did it on Kindle or whatever, but we'll hold
I
this.
had a soft copy. Like I bought it on Kindle. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all
Oh,
lovely.
dear.
Um, any now, Aisha, I know you can't probably put your video on or whatever. Did you have any questions, or Angela or Emmeline? Like this is just we have a little bit more time. Yeah, I think it's very important to continue to just keep supporting others. And, I can see in this, you could do a workshop on every chapter, confidence, do the vision exercise, do all the other wonderful exercises. And I will, when I start to do some, I'll share that with you. There's a couple in here that I read near the end because I had other books I was reading, but there's a couple others I'd like to try that are newer and I'd like to try. So thank you. Angela, did you have a question or comment?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the call. I jumped on late because I was in another meeting, but I'm looking forward to hearing the recording because it sounds like I missed a very good discussion, and I'm looking forward to reading your book. I wanted to say, loved the comment you made about journaling and the 10 questions. On and off, I've done something very similar, but I don't have the discipline to keep it up every day. So kudos to you. I have a different perspective on your exceptional marriage comment that your therapist told you, because
Yeah.
sometimes when we say the word exceptional, we tend to think, if we're talking in context of marriage, for example, we tend to think like we'll never argue, we'll always be in sync, there'll be no health issues, right? Like we think it'll be perfect. But exceptional can also be that when bad stuff happens, when we have an argument, we fight respectfully. When
Mm.
somebody is sick, we stand by each other, or can find the resources to help each other through it. When there's something bad happens, that we're there for each other. So exceptional can still be exceptional even in the face of really bad stuff. And I want to put that out there because sometimes people shy away from that word because they think exceptional means perfect with never any flaws. And I tend to think of exceptional as even when flawed, we have the resilience and the resources to get through it. So I just wanted to add that to your comment about your goals.
Love that. Love that, Angela. Thank you.
I love that. Hey, if anybody wants to put it out there in the comments, in the
Yeah.
chat,
Hi,
but
Helen. Can you
one
hear
of
me?
one of their goals. Yeah, Aisha, you want to ask
Yeah,
a
my microphone was not working. I am traveling actually, so that's why I couldn't turn on my camera. But it was wonderful to listen to all of you. Shannon, it seems like your book is amazing. So I haven't started to read this book, but the next thing in my list is to get it and to read it
Thank you.
because I am in a situation in my life. So Helen knows a little bit, of course, about me. So um, currently I'm living a chaotic life. I am trying to transition my career. So my whole life I was an academic, I was a teacher, so I have a teaching career of more than 12 years now. I'm trying to finish my PhD this year. So, and then I thought that I would be actually a forever academic. And now recently I decided that no, I want to see the other parts of the world, maybe the other professions, other occupations, whatever. So, my question to you would be like, do you have any suggestion for me? Like, how do I find out or decide? I kind of decided, but then also how to precisely identify that what would be my future goals or what would be my future career look like? How do I identify that what is more relevant to me or like which goes with my identity probably or like sort of navigating the passion that I do have, so any
Yeah.
recommendations for me? Thank you.
Yes. No. So I'll share the exercise that I did from the first coach I ever worked with. Had me do an exercise because I was in a very similar position. I not quite as big of a career shift as what you're talking about, but that's exciting. But I was asked to go through my career and kind of put the highs and the lows. So what did I enjoy about it? What did I not like about it? And actually map it out as if it was a river. So it became this like visual, and I'm not good at visual stuff, but I did it. So it became this visual thing. And then looking at, okay, what were the commonalities? And for me, what came across were like the people I worked with were really important to me. And when it was more of an entrepreneurial culture. So that then turned into, okay, I wanted to be an entrepreneur and help people. And so that's what started that journey. Um, but I think it's doing an exercise like that. It's letting yourself have some time to just, whether it's sit in a quiet room and just think like when you were a kid, did you have certain dreams, or when you were an adult, or what were certain things that really piqued your interest? What do you enjoy? And then just similar to what I said to Corinne, just chatting with people, learning more, especially the areas you're thinking of, and just kind of trying to see, okay, what might it be that you like? And then I think the other thing is that if you don't get it right the first time, if you go for something and it's not right, that's okay. We don't have to make a final decision. We can test things out and figure things out as we go. And so in my case, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I wasn't ready to do it yet. So I transitioned into an advertising agency because I wanted to be around creative, strategic people. So that was what I did. I did that for 2 years and then started my own business. So it's kind of just, yeah, letting yourself dream and thinking about it and talking to people and seeing what comes up. It would be what I found worked for me.
That's really amazing. Thank you. Thank you very much. That was useful.
Thanks, Aisha. And keep me posted on what you do.
I will. Thank you.
Yeah, Aisha, I think with her research, which is a lot of it is on work life
Mm.
integration, and there's some beautiful things. And then having taught, you can combine that I think that exercise of just taking that time to dream and just vision and think about those things that light you up and create, and then keep talking to people. Yeah, I'm so glad you made it today. Keep showing up at places like this and just putting yourself out there. It's
I
amazing.
will. I will. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, this has been lovely. I don't want to cut it off. I just want to be mindful of time. It is almost top of the hour, and just in case people have to go, any final parting words, like Shannon, I think um, I just love it. I can't wait to see your TED Talk one day. Is it on your list?
You know what? It was on my list before I even wrote the book. And then it took a back burner.
Yeah.
So we'll
It's
see.
it's one
One
of those
day.
things that I think it's interesting because I just saw someone post that it was like 600 applications for the Orlando TEDx or something, and I thought just get out there. I mean, even being you have this platform now with getting your speaking out there and just helping others with these concepts, because as you can see even today, like we all can relate to this, the journey of you know, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, but to be able to say we live this beautiful, joyful, happy life no matter what we're doing and feeling fulfilled. And so just finding that for whatever time, I think is part of it as well. Yeah, so I'll be very excited to see what's next for everybody. Please connect with each other. And yeah, I just really wanted to thank you for taking the time, Shannon, because I know, you do have a full life. Sometimes you wonder, right, how you do it all with the kids, and I'm becoming an empty nester, so I have this newfound freedom. So this is the thing that's every stage of our life journey, it will be a time to revisit that vision and what it looks like. So yeah, so thanks everybody for showing up. Just really quickly, our next book is called Controlled. And it's by Dr. Nava Israel. She has a PhD, and it's really more about systems change. And so some of what we don't even dive into, the way that corporate and places are structured is often why we do burn out or we want to make different life choices, because it doesn't allow for us to have this beautiful work-life harmony, right? So we're going to do it over 3 sessions though, because it's a doozy. And I thought, oh gosh, there's no way we could just have one reading. So you can come for any part of the journey, and that's how we're going to end the year. And then if you know of anyone that you think would be a great author to read next year, we will continue because it's just one of my favorite times of the month. So thank you all. Shannon, wishing you well
Thank
with
you. Thanks,
whatever's
Helen.
next. Thanks
Everybody.
everybody for coming, and have a wonderful rest of your week. All right. Bye.
Thanks so much.